Hello dear Cut and Sew Tribe, you welcome to Cut and Sew Tribe YouTube channel. For all our returning subscribers, you are the best. And for those who are just joining us for the first time, I welcome you specially. So as you can see, we are going to learn how to cut and sew this beautiful two-piece set. So the shirt is with bishop sleeve and the skirt has two side ruffles with ruched effect. So if this looks like what you would really like to learn, let's get into it in detail. For the required materials, so you are going to need any button of your choice. I have 6 pieces of button here with me, and for my main material I'll be working with a little bit thick chiffon material. So I already have on my pattern paper all my vertical lines. So from the starting point I left 2 inches. You are going to know the reason why I left it as time goes on. So here is my CB and this side here is my CF. So on the CF as well, I left 2 inches for my placket allowance. Now I'm just going ahead to label all my vertical lines. So after this, now we're going to work on our shoulder measurement. So whatever your shoulder measurement is, go ahead and divide it into 2, and you're going to mark it all the way to your bust line. So go ahead and connect the 2 points together as seen. So this straight line is going to serve as your armhole depth. Now after this, we'll go ahead to our neck circumference. Now for my neck width, I want to work with 2.5 because this is a shirt dress and I don't want the neck to be too wide. But for the depth, I use 3 inches. Now my shoulder slope for the front, because this is a shirt, I'll be using 1 inch and I'll connect it to the neck tip as seen. Now to get my across chest for the front, I'll divide that line into 2, and on that point I'll go in by ½ inch. So after that, I'll go ahead now and input my bust circumference divided by 4, and I added ½ inch ease, because this is a shirt top, you don't want it to be too tight. So I'll go ahead and connect the 3 points together as seen, and the upper part of our front is ready. So I'll move ahead to our waist. Make sure you add ease of ½ inch to the waist circumference divided by 4 as well, and you're going to repeat the same thing on your hip. Hip divided by 4 plus ½ ease on it. I'll connect the 3 points together as seen. So our front is ready and we're moving to the back. My neck width for the back is 2.5 as well, and the depth is just 1 inch. So go ahead and connect the 2 points together, and you can go ahead and measure your bust circumference. Don't forget to add 0.5 ease to it, and I'll go ahead and measure my shoulder slope, which is 1 inch for the back. So I'll divide this line into 2 again, and on that point I will not go in by 0.5 because you don't really need it on this pattern. So I'll go ahead and just connect the 3 points together with my curve. So this is our armhole shape. So having done this, let's go ahead to our waist. The waist into 4 plus ½ and your hip into 4 plus ½ inch. I'll go ahead to connect them together as seen. So I can say our basic body is ready. The only thing missing here is our dart, and that is because I will not be putting that on this shirt. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'll go ahead and cut my pattern. Can you see it? So this is my placket allowance, like I said. So before you cut the placket allowance, you make sure you fold it in so that the allowance will not give. Now the next thing we're going to do is this. I need you to pay close attention here. On my shoulder line for the front, I will be coming down by 1 inch. Can you see it? And I use my shoulder slope to trace out that 1 inch. The reason for this is that I want my back to rest towards the front. Do you get it? So this 1 inch we are going to remove from the shoulder of the front. We are going to return it back on the back shoulder. You are going to see it when the time comes. So now, having done this, I want to go ahead and cut my neck. And if you notice, I folded my placket allowance. So you need to do this so that you have this shape on your placket. Do you get my point? Now you need to have this shape so that your placket allowance will not give by the time you transfer it to fabric. Now go ahead and cut out this 1 inch. We don't need it on this pattern again. And you can just go ahead and cut out your front block. So this is what you're going to have when you fold in your placket. This is what you are going to have. Now the next thing now is to return the 1 inch we took away from the front. You are going to return it back on the back shoulder slope. Can you see it? So you are going to use your shoulder slope to get the 1 inch. Can you see the way I'm placing it? So you connect the points together as seen. So this 1 inch is going to complement the 1 inch we took away from the front. Do you get it? It's going to rest towards the front. By the time we are sewing, you are going to see it in detail. So I'll just go ahead and cut out my back block as seen. So this is it. Our block is ready. We have the 2 pieces ready. Can you see it? So by the time you place it on each other, this is how your back should rest. Can you see it? The shoulder will rest on the front shoulder. Can you see it? All right, the next thing we'll be working on now is going to be our skirt block. So this is my starting line, and here is my CB. So this is my CF. So now I have my hip circumference divided by 4, and this is what I have here. So now from the starting point here, I measured down from waist to hip length, and in my own case I used 9 inches because this is an high waist skirt. So for the full length of this skirt, my length is 28. You are going to use your own desired length. So we're going to work on this now. On our waist line, we are going to input whatever your waist measurement is divided by 4 plus 1 inch for your dart intake, and that is what I measured on the waistline. Now on the hip line, you are going to divide your hip into 4. Whatever your hip is, go ahead and divide it by 4, and that is what you are going to input on your hip line. So whatever you have on your hip line is what you are going to take all the way to the hem. You don't want to shape your hem because this skirt does not have back vent, back slit. There is no back slit on this skirt, so you need to take note of that so that you will be able to move around in this skirt. You don't need to shape the hem of your skirt. Do you get my explanation now? So after doing this, you are going to blend in all the sharp lines. So I'll go ahead now and input my dart intake. So for the dart length, I'll be using 6 inches for the dart length, and for the width of the dart, I'll be using my nipple to nipple measurement. Do you get it now? So and I'll go ahead and draw my straight line, and I'll open up this line by 0.5 inch on both sides. You know, I added 1 inch to the waistline. So this is going to be our dart for the front. So on the side of this skirt, on the front, you are going to raise that part by ½ inch, and you are going to connect it to the nearest dart line as I have done. So go ahead now on the center front of your skirt, on the waistline, you come down by at least 0.75. But if you are of a plus size, if your waist is like waist 35, you can come down by 1 inch. Do you get it now? So we're going to work on the back block. You are going to input whatever your waist is divided by 4 plus 1 inch for the dart intake, and on the hip line, you are going to input your hip divided by 4, and that is what you are going to take all the way to your hem. Your hip divided by 4, whatever it is, you are going to take it all the way to the hem. By now you should know the reason why we are doing this, because there is no back vent on this skirt, so that you can be able to move around. Now after this, I'm going to raise my side just the way I did for the front. You need to raise it by 0.5 so that that side can rhyme. Do you get it now? And I'll go ahead and input my dart. So the dart length is 6 inches, just like I did for the front, and I'll be using my nipple to nipple for the width. So I'm going to draw a straight line. I'll open it up by 0.5 on both sides. Okay, now you need to blend the side that you raised by half to the nearest dash line. Can you see it? So just connect it together like so, and our basic skirt is ready. So I'll move ahead now to cut it out. So before you can cut your waist line, you will need to close your dart. So I'm closing up this dart because I am not going to hold dart on my skirt. So this is what we call dart elimination. So I've eliminated this dart now, and I'll go ahead. I will use the line, the shape on the waist, to cut out the waistline. You need to follow that shape so that it will help you to get accurate band by the time we want to cut out our band. So you are going to do the same thing for the back. So I'll close up my dart. Can you see it? I am not using this dart on my fabric, and that is why I am eliminating it. So go ahead and use your waistline to trace out that part like so, and you're going to cut out every other part that you don't need on this pattern. All right, our back and front block, they are both ready now, and this is what we have. So I have my total length on this pattern. The next thing I want to do now is to cut out my band. I'll be removing my band from this block, and for my band width I'll be using just 1.5 inches. You can use between 1 to 2 inches depending on how wide you want your band to be, and you're going to follow the shape of your skirt waist. So you need to follow that shape because your band is not supposed to be 100% straight. Do you get it? So this is what you are going to follow after you might have folded your dart intake. I'm emphasizing that you need to close your dart intake before you now measure out your bandwidth. Do you get my point now? So I'm going to repeat the same thing for the front block. Close your dart intake, and you're going to use the waist of your skirt to just follow and measure your bandwidth. So this is what you should have after you have done all what I said. So I'm still going to leave this band on this paper until the time I want to cut it on fabric. So by the time I want to cut it on fabric, the band for the front is going to be on fold, while for the back is going to be on pieces. So our skirt is ready. All right, this is all our pattern sets. They are ready now, both the skirt and the shirt. So it is time to transfer to the fabric. So this is my back block for the shirt, and I've added all my seam allowance. On the shoulder, 1/2 inch, the neckline, the armhole, I added 1/2 inch, but by the side I added 1 inch, and on the hem I added 1 inch. So if you look at it, this back I cut it on fold. So the next one I want to cut now is going to be my front block, and that is going to be on pieces. You are going to cut it 2 pieces. And if you look at it very well, I open up my placket. You need to open up your placket like this before you cut it out, and go ahead and add all your necessary seam allowance. Note that I added 1 inch to the side of the front and the back, and on the hem I added 1 inch as well. So this is what we have. You want to notch your placket allowance so that by the time you want to fold it in, you will not exceed that point. So we have these 2 pieces for the front, and I'll put it aside. So it's time to transfer our skirt on the fabric. So this is my back block. Like I said, I'll fold my dart like so before cutting it out. So I will remove this band like so from the whole back block. Now go ahead and add all my necessary seam allowance, still folding my dart. Can you see it? Because I am not holding this dart on the fabric. And on the waist I added 1/2 inch for the seam allowance that I will use to join my band. And on the zipper area, the back, the center back, I added 1 inch for the zipper allowance, and by the side I added 1.5 inch. On the hem I added 2 inches, and I will just go ahead and cut everything out as seen. So this is 2 pieces for the back. I'll put it aside. Now the next part is to cut our front. So when you want to cut your front skirt, it's going to be on fold. Can you see it? Your fabric should be on fold, and you can go ahead and remove your band. Do not forget to remove your band from the skirt. It is very important. Now can you see it? Fold in your dart, and you go ahead and add your seam allowance on the waist, because you are still going to use it to attach your band. Do you get my point now? And I'll go ahead and cut everything out. So I'll pack it aside now, and we're going to start working on the band. So to cut your band for the front, you know, it is going to be on fold like so, and you're going to place it. If you look at it, it's not straight. Your band should not be straight. So by the side, I will add 1.5 inches, or whatever allowance you added to the side of your skirt is what you should add to the side of your band. And on the up and down, I will add ½ inch. I hope you get it now. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces for that. And for the back band, I'm going to place it like so. I'm going to add this same allowance I added for the zipper allowance on the skirt on the side of the zipper allowance on the band. Do you get it now? And whatever you had for the side for your seam allowance, you are going to add it on the band as well. And up and down, you are going to add ½ inch. So this is what we have for our band. I'm going to place it and put them aside. So it is time to start joining our pieces together. Now the first thing you want to do here is I'm going to take my front piece. So this is what I've done behind you. So my placket allowance, can you see it? I firstly folded ½ inch in, can you see it? And I refolded it like so. Can you see the way I folded it? I did the same thing on both sides. So the next thing I want to go and do now is I will take my hemming gum. Can you see my hemming gum? And I will go and use it to secure that place, because I do not want any seam line. I'm not going to sew it. Do you get it? That's why I'm using hemming gum. So after I might have done that, now I will join my shoulders together. So I'll go and do those things I've said, and we'll come and continue our tutorial. So this is it. I've joined my shoulder and I've finished up my placket. Can you see how neat and beautiful it is? So the next thing you will do now is to go ahead and measure your total neck circumference. So as you can see here now, I have 19.5. So that 19.5, I have my pattern paper folded. Can you see it? So on this folded pattern paper, the first thing you want to do is to draw a straight line like so. And whatever your neck circumference is, you know, you have folded the pattern into 2. So you are going to divide your neck circumference into 2 as well. And that is what I've measured on this paper. So after dividing it into 2, you still go ahead and divide it into 2 again. Can you see the way I divided it? And from that starting point here, you go up by ½ inch and note. So that ½ inch is what you are going to connect to this midpoint here. Can you see the way I am placing my curve? So this is what you want to do, and you are going to use your curve to get that shape. Can you see it? So now it is this shape you will now use to trace. You are going to trace it out using your 1 inch for the collar stand. So for my collar stand, I'm using 1 inch. It all depends on you. You can use between 1 to 1.5 inches. But in my own case, I'm just using 1 inch. And can you see the way I follow that shape? You need to follow that shape. So now on this point here, so you go in by 0.75. I'll be going in by 0.75 to get the shape that our collar stand used to have. Can you see the way I'm connecting it? So just go ahead and blend it together to the starting point like so. So this is the place where your collar stand is going to be attached to your collar itself. Do you get it? So you have to give it this shape so that it will come out very nicely. Now you make sure you cut it out carefully like I am doing, and this is going to serve as our collar stand. So if you open it up, this is what you should have. Now the next thing is to go ahead and cut our collar itself. So you are still going to remeasure your neck circumference divided by 2. You know, this paper is on fold, that is why you are dividing your neck circumference into 2. Do you get it now? So on this line, I will measure whatever my neck circumference is into 2 and note. So from that point now, I'm going to measure the width. Whatever you want your width, the width of your collar to be. I want mine to be 2.5. You can use between 2 to 3 inches. So in my own case, I am using 2.5, and I will square it. I'm going to square this line like so. Can you see it? So I will just connect it together. So this is going to be the width and the length of my collar. So now the next thing, I'll bring out my collar stand. So that point that I went in by 0.75, that is the place you are going to attach to your collar, and that point as well on your collar, you are going to go in by 0.75, and you are going to connect it to the outer part of your collar. Do you get it now? And on the center back, on your center back, that place is going to be your center back. You go up by 1/2 inch, and you are going to blend in like so. Can you see the way I blended it in? So this is going, that part is going to be your center back, and I'll go ahead and cut out my collar. So this is what you will have. This is how your 2-piece collar should look like. Can you see it? So I'll take this now to my stay. I'm going to cut exact size. I will not add any seam allowance on my stay. Can you see it? I've used the pattern to cut my stay exact without any seam allowance. I've transferred it on my fabric as well, but on the fabric I added 1/2 inch allowance. Can you see it all through? So the same thing I did for my collar stand, I added 1/2 inch allowance all through, and I will be cutting 2 pieces for each, both the collar and the collar stand. So I'll take it back to the ironing table like so. I'm going to place my interfacing on it. Can you see the way I place it? Can you see the placement? So you want to place it in such a way that your 1/2 inch will show round, and you go ahead and iron it down. So I've ironed it down. Can you see it? And the outer part of your collar stand, I went ahead to fold it in. I folded it in the 1/2 inch that I added. Can you see it? So the reason is so that it will be very, very convenient for you when you are joining. And for the collar itself, this is what you should have. So now this part that we added our interface is going to be the right side. So I'll take it to the ironing table, and I'm going to sew on my seam allowance, leaving that part open. Can you see it? I will sew it around, and I will leave that part open so that it will be convenient for us to turn. So this is what we have. So go ahead and turn it inside out like so. It is not relaxing very well now because we have not ironed it. So I'll take it back to the ironing table and iron it. I will continue. So this is what you should have after ironing. Very neat and clean. So you want to notch the midpoint of this so that by the time you want to sew your collar stand together with it, everything will align. So this is our collar stand. I will bring it in, and I'm going to notch the center point as well. Can you see it? So you bring the two together. This is how you are going to arrange your collar. So the collar will be in the middle. Collar will be at the middle, while the collar stand and the lining, this one I'm holding now, is a form of lining that you are going to use to turn it. You are going to place it under the collar, right side facing right side. Can you see the way I'm placing it? You need to get this placement. So and you make sure you arrange it, everything aligned. Can you see it? So the collar is at the middle, while we have the collar stand, one is up and one is under. So I'll take it to the sewing machine now, and I will sew it following my seam allowance. So you are going to stop like 1/2 inch before the end here, before that part. So you sew it down like so, and this is what you will have after sewing it down. Can you see it? So I'll just go ahead and turn it inside out. But if you want, you can just trim out this seam allowance. You don't really need it there, but if you are trimming, make sure you don't cut through your thread. So I'll just turn it inside out. I'll take it back to the ironing table to iron so that our collar can relax. So this is our collar. Can you see how beautiful it is? I really love what I am seeing. So you go ahead now and get the midpoint again. It is time to now attach our collar to our shirt. Okay, so this is what you want to do. Get the midpoint on your neck width as well. Get it on your neck circumference. Just notch it like that. Can you see it? So you are going to place it right side facing right side. You know, I told you the part that has este is going to be our right side. So you need to get the placement. Can you see it? So you are going to pin it. You can start sewing from the edge here like this down to the end as seen. So you can go ahead and pin it down so that it can be convenient for you when you want to sew. So I've sewn it down. Can you see it? So that part that I folded in on the collar stand is what you are going to use to conceal this seam allowance. Can you see the way I am? You are going to tuck it in. Make sure you tuck it in before you now go ahead and sew it down. So this is what we have. I've sewn it down and I'm really falling in love with this. Very neat and clean. So this is what you should have on your collar. So the next thing I want to do now is to cut our sleeves. So I'll be cutting the two sleeves together. This sleeve is pretty simple and easy to follow. So I'll just fold my leftover fabric into four like so. Now for your sleeve to have the puff effect, whatever your sleeve length, your actual sleeve length is, add like extra 3 or 2 inches to it. So in my own case, I added 3 inches to my length. My length is 21, so I added 3 inches extra, which makes it 24, plus 1 inch that I will use for the elastic casing. So the length I'm working on here is 25 inches. And here I'm cutting my armhole. You know, there is no pleating on the armhole, so you want to make it the exact value for your armhole. Do you get it now? And for the wrist, so I use my wrist times 2, my round sleeve, which is 7, times 2, which is 14. So I cut 14 on that part. Do you get it now? So basically that was what I did, and I'll just connect it together and I will cut my sleeve. So this tutorial is really getting longer than expected. I will not be able to show us how to sew the skirt part in this tutorial, so we're going to continue in the next class. So this is my sleeve. I've cut it out. I'm looking for the midpoint. I want to notch that part so that by the time I want to attach it to the bodies, it will be very easy for me. So go ahead and notch the midpoint like so, and you go ahead and bring your bodies. So to attach your sleeve to your bodies, you need to arrange it properly. You know, our front shoulder slope is shorter than the back shoulder slope by 1 inch. So you need to arrange your armhole like this. The two armhole must be equal, you know, before you now get your shoulder midpoint. Can you see? So that 1 inch is going to fall to the front. Can you see it? Do you get it now? So after notching your mid armhole there, you can now go ahead and attach your sleeve. So I'm going to fix it, arrange it properly, and I will fix it to the two sleeve. Do you get it now? So I'll take it to the sewing machine and go and do that. So this is it. I've sewn it down, and I've even gone ahead to do my elastic casing. So I will now go ahead and pass in my elastic. Can you see? This is my elastic casing. I'll go ahead now and pass in my elastic. This is how I used to measure my elastic. I'll just measure it around my wrist as seen, because I don't want it to be too tight. So I'll cut whatever I have there. Do you get it now? and I will pass it into the elastic casing. After passing like that into the elastic casing, I'll just go ahead now and bring it together, right side facing right side as seen. So I will arrange it properly, and I'm going to shape my shirt using my seam allowance. So you are going to use your own accurate seam allowance to shape your dress, and boom, our shirt is ready. So like I said, we are not going to continue the skirt. I will show us in the next class. So after shaping my dress, this is what we have for our shirt. Can you see how pretty it is? In our next tutorial, I'll show you how to sew our skirt together. If you find this helpful, kindly subscribe to this channel. Bye.